If you ask your comic book self to pick the 7 reasons why he would pick this cruise as his favorite among all the 20 you've taken, what would he say?
Easy, man. It's the ship, the ease, the history, the beauty, the castles, the people, the emotion, and I'll leave you bumps.
Stay tuned and we'll tell you today what those mean as we pick our favorite cruise, tell you why we picked it, give you the 7 loves and the 3 little bumps. Okay, first let me clear up one thing. My travel window is never going to be an AI channel. We are about 2 people who love to travel and want to help other people make the most of their travel. But that doesn't mean that I can't once in a while throw in something that sort of shakes things up a little bit. I'd love to know your comments. If you hate it or if you really like it, let me know. Today we're going to talk about what I have dubbed our favorite cruise. So how do you pick a favorite? Every trip that we've been on is my favorite trip at the time. But which one would I be most excited about booking today to do again? It would be this one. Today I'm going to give you the 7 reasons why, and I'm also giving you the 3 little bumps. So let's start off. I don't know why, but this route always reminded me of a bunny. We cruised on the Caribbean Princess, which was built in 2004. It has been replaced on this itinerary by a newer ship, and the current route is slightly different. I'll explain both of these changes. On the map, you can see the ports of call. Leaving Southampton, the original first stop is St. Peter Port on the Isle of Guernsey. From there, we make 2 stops in the Republic of Ireland, the ports for Cork and Dublin. Then we continue onward to Northern Ireland to the historic industrial city of Belfast. Then we move on and make 4 stops in Scotland. Distinctly different, but all imbibing of the Scottish culture. After a sea day comes the final stop in Le Havre, France, the ideal place to chronicle the Normandy beaches and the Battle of D-Day. The Majestic Princess has now assumed service for this itinerary. It's similar in size to its predecessor, but 13 years newer, so a nice upgrade to the always excellent Princess service. They've dropped Guernsey and replaced it with a stop in Cornwall. I consider that an upgrade. You can also see the green dot in the center of the map. This is Liverpool. During the season, cruises will alternate between a stop in Dublin or a stop in Liverpool. Pick the one you like. As my cartoon self so hurriedly commented, the second love of this cruise is for the access. Almost everyone will begin in London, which is one of the easiest destinations to reach from almost anywhere. And unlike most of Europe, English is their primary language. There's so much to see in London that you could spend a week before or after the cruise and not take it all in. The iconic British Museum, the massive Tower of London, historic Buckingham Palace, the massive Westminster Abbey, picturesque St. Paul's Cathedral, and so much more. So let's get the first of the minor hates or bumps out of the way. The weather. There is a reason the map shows everything in green. It rains here, and there's fog, and it's sometimes breezy. Just expect it will happen and resolve to live with it. It's part of the charm. Enough for the preliminaries. Let's get to the cruise itself. We set sail out of Southampton with our first stop, St. Peter Port on the Isle of Guernsey. Perhaps the most famous attraction here is the house of Victor Hugo, author of Hunchback of Notre Dame. As you can see, the town has interesting sights. But after a long walk in the rain, we found the house, but we're there on the only day of the week that it was closed. Hate number 2, and it's not limited to just this one spot. Now we're headed off for the first of 2 stops on the Republic of Ireland. We begin with the port for the city of Cork, with its famous nearby attraction, Blarney Castle. You can see the iconic castle here and the beautiful grounds. We chose to bypass the hour-long wait to kiss the Blarney Stone, figuring we had enough Blarney already. And we enjoyed the marvelous grounds. Our tour also added a quick stop in the seaport town of Kinsale, a photographer's haven. This was our third love. This lush portion of Ireland was only the beginning of the natural beauty that we would see the rest of the trip. From here, it's on to Dublin, the land of writers and poets, capital of Ireland and home to Guinness. Here you can see the iconic Temple Bar, get your photo with James Joyce or Molly Maguire, and be on the lookout for Oscar Wilde. It's also home to the funniest hop-on, hop-off guide we could ever possibly imagine. He was a comedian masquerading as a tour guide. Irish stew and Guinness? Yes, please. Now it's on to Belfast, where the Troubles happened. The famous struggles between Catholics and Protestants and the desire to be free versus being part of the United Kingdom. Historic graffiti documents the history well. Our favorite attraction here was the Titanic experience, as opposed to a museum. The multi-level marvel will test all your senses and give you memories you can get no other way. Which means this is the time to add love number 4, intensely personal history. Leaving Ireland, we head to Scotland. First stop is Greenock, port for Glasgow. Here, the castle steward doesn't just step it up a notch, it's a whole new level. Stirling Castle is associated with William Wallace of Braveheart fame, sometimes called the Key to Scotland. It was the protective childhood home of Mary Queen of Scots. Actors in period dress relive the details of the interior. We've done a dozen castle tours. This is one of the most memorable. And with more to come, that makes this one number 5. But now we move way back in time as we make our way to the Orkney Islands and the town of Kirkwall. From Kirkwall, you can tour ancient cairns that date back to over 3000 BC. Or, like us, you can just walk the town and see the St. Magnus Cathedral dating from the 12th century. The area is often stormy, but we had a glorious day. Okay, onward to Invergordon, gateway to the Scottish Highlands, Loch Ness, and one of the best places ever to take a camera. And no, we have no pictures of Nessie. And it's also home to our instant friend Peter, from whom we asked directions and walked away as a friend. He's the poster child for love number 6, which happened all along this trip. Dunrobin Castle is still inhabited by the Duke of Sutherland's family. One floor can be toured. The gardens are patterned after Versailles. Pictures are stunning. But my favorite part is the daily falconry exhibition, where a trainer demonstrates how hawks and falcons have been trained for generations. It's marvelous. On to Edinburgh, our last stop in Scotland. We were treated warmly by the people, but coolly and damply by the weather again. The highlight of Edinburgh is the walk from Edinburgh Castle at the top of the hill to Holyrood House Palace, the Scottish residence of the British monarch. Between the two is a delightful trip through town that you'd love even in the rain. So much history here. So, after 4 days of Scotland, let me add in hate number 3. Let's just say haggis must definitely be an acquired taste. A sea day included a sail by the English Channel, Dunkirk, and the White Cliffs of Dover. What we saw, alas, was mostly mist. From our last stop at Le Havre, France, you can take a day trip to Paris, but we chose to take a guided tour of Normandy. Best decision of the trip. You can walk Omaha Beach, see the cliffs the Rangers had to scale, witness the German fortifications firsthand, and relive the story of the paratrooper caught on the church as he landed. Inside the church are stained glass windows to commemorate the day. But the cemetery tops it all off. I expected the emotion to be there when I saw the rows of crosses, but when I saw the Wall of the Missing with its over 1,500 names of soldiers whose bodies were never identified, I was taken aback. Most are linked to crosses in the cemetery that read, "Known only to God." As you gaze over the field and the speakers play taps, I dare you to hold the emotion in. That would embody the last of the 7 loves. From France, it's an easy sail back to Southampton and the completion of a marvelous 12-day cruise. I'm ready to do it again. Are you in? If you like the format of this video, check out this cruise next. Until then, safe travels.